I like Legos. I guess I've always liked Legos. How about you? I know these are like the big blocks. They're probably not even called Legos. I think these are Mega Blocks. I don't know. They're just big Legos to me. But I've always kind of liked them. You can build all sorts of kinds of shapes. But the key to Legos, or Mega Blocks, is you connect them together. The truth is, I'm not sure what the point would be of having just one block. Like, have you ever thought to yourself, it's someone's birthday. I'm going to give this kid a birthday present. I'm just going to give him a single block. No. No, you don't do that. In fact, it would be kind of mean to give someone a single block all by itself with no connection. Because the truth is, these blocks, they're all about the connection. But something happened for many of us a couple months ago. Our connections started to fall apart. Our connections started to crumble. In fact, when we thought we were connected to someone, we just lost touch. We had these rhythms and these routines, these places where we saw people, and now we don't. Now it's just one block. And I have to tell you, I'm kind of lonely. And I've heard from many of you, you're kind of lonely. And it's almost hard to admit because no one wants to admit to feeling lonely. But that loneliness is there. That loneliness is there, that needing community. When God created the world and He created people, the way the story goes is God created one person. And that person was alone. And God looked at all of His creation and said, wow, it's good, it's good, it's good. And then the one person, God said, oh, this is not good. It is not good for man to be alone. And you know, it isn't just that men need people. It's that people need people. We all do. We all need connection, every one of us. It's not good for a Lego to be all by itself. It's not good for any of us to be all by ourselves. We are social creatures. We need connection. And so I tell you, I'm lonely, and I've heard from you that since this pandemic hit, you've become lonely. But the truth is, I've also heard from you before this pandemic. You were lonely. We were lonely. I talked to one person and said, hey, have you been lonely in this time? And they said, I've been lonely for a long time. So it makes me wonder this question. Who does life with you? Who does life with you? Who are you connected to? Or at least who were you connected to before this pandemic? Did you have these meaningful connections of these people that did life with you? And I'm not just talking about people who work with you. People that you know, acquaintances, people you run into and wave at the grocery store. I'm not just talking about neighbors that you might wave at as you take the trash out to the street. Honestly, this invention right here changed the world. Because of this invention here, the garage door opener, people stopped connecting with one another as much. They started being able to drive straight into their house without seeing a person. So the question's so important. Who are you connected to? Who were you connected to? Who do you need to be connected to? Jesus did life with people. When Jesus called His first disciples, He said, come follow me. He didn't say, come study with me, or come, let's read a book together. He said, come follow me. Come eat with me. I'll come. I'll eat with you. He went to people's homes and He had dinner and they talked. They sat around the fire. They spent time together. And it's not just spending time, it's investing time. It's connecting with one another. Because we all needed connections. We all need them, even Jesus. Jesus said, come follow me, eat with me, and let's journey together. The Gospels say Jesus often withdrew to pray. He went to places where no one else was around so he could step aside and pray and connect with God. And the truth is that connection with God is our foundation. But isn't it interesting that even in this part of Scripture where it says Jesus was by himself, someone knew. His people knew. The people who spent their lives with him, who did life together with Jesus, they knew. They knew that this is what Jesus did. And they learned from him. And when they were asked to tell the story of Jesus, what it was like to experience those years with Jesus, they told the stories of how Jesus went out to pray. And they said, this is what we are to do too. Jesus healed people. And then he said to his followers, now you do it. You heal people. You watched me do it, now you do it. Jesus talked to people about the reign of God in everyday life. And then he said to his followers, you do it. Jesus sent his followers out to do what he was doing, and they were only able to do it because they spent life with Jesus. It wasn't because they learned about Jesus. It's not about studying. It's not about their note-taking. It's about doing life together. Jesus washed his disciples' feet at a meal. He said, I'm going to take on the lowest of the low roles of serving someone at this meal. And you do the same thing. Now you've seen me do it, so you do it. Jesus did life with his followers. Because the truth is, no one's meant to do life alone. And Jesus gave us the example. Jesus spent time in the crowds. Jesus spent time with the 72. And then he spent time with the 12, who knew him much better. And then he spent time with the 3, who were there even in the garden on his way to the cross, where he prayed, Father, not my will, but your will. He said to his 3, his people who knew what he was going through, he said, I want you here with me. I don't want to do this alone. I need you to stay awake with me. And even when they couldn't, Jesus was frustrated because he needed them. And if Jesus needed them, don't we all need someone? Don't we all need community? Don't we all need people? And then after Jesus died on the cross, and he rose from the dead, and he ascended into heaven, what did his followers do? They gathered together. They gathered together. Acts 2:42 says this in the Message translation. They committed themselves to the teaching of the apostles, the life together, the common meal, and the prayers. In other words, they did life together. They followed Jesus together. That's what it means. That's what it means to be a Christian. That's something we all need, to do life together. So what does it mean to do life together? And what does it mean to do life together at this time? It means you have your people. It means, yes, you have your crowd. You have the people that you might just see in passing. Right now, we have that with our worship right now that you're part of. And you see all the other people that are connected into worship, and that's good. That's the crowd. And yes, you've got your 72 acquaintances, the people that pop up in your Facebook newsfeed that you might say a comment here and there. You see a little bit of what's going on in their lives. You have your 72. And that's good too. It's important. But who are your 12? Who are your 12? Your 12 people who have a pretty good idea of what's going on in your life, even if you don't post about it on Facebook. Who are your 12? That might be related to you or they might not be. And then who are your 3? Who are your 3 people who will stick in it with you? Who will be with you through wherever it is that you're going through, because everyone is going through something. Who are your 3 people that you talk to and you know that they care? Who are the 3 people that if you are in pain, they're going to know, not because you volunteer the information, but because they're asking. Because they're regularly asking, how are you really doing? Because they really care. And they're really intentional because you are one of their three. And I know that our whole way of dealing with blocks, it just doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't work anymore. We can't actually connect in some of the same ways. The places that we used to interact, they don't happen anymore. It just doesn't. So what if we have to get a new kind of block? What if we have to connect in different ways? You know, right now we're in a digital world. What if we have to connect in a way that's not something we ever imagined before, but we find out that it's meaningful and it's good? And in fact, maybe some of those connections we want to keep after this crisis is over. We're starting to offer digital connect groups, digital small groups, digital life groups, groups that do life together. Some of them have a book study, some of them don't. But the book study is secondary. The essential is that they do life together. That they're part of someone's 12 or part of someone's 3. That they're the people who know what's going on, so no one is living life alone. Because none of us can live life alone. I was talking to someone who's been having conversations with his friends who aren't Christians. And he said to them, hey, I'm in this group. And he says, they say, why are you in this group? And he says, because no one can do life by themselves. Everyone needs someone. And his friends said, I don't necessarily have any desire to be part of a church, but I need that group. And so they wanted to be part of it. The truth is, none of us can do life on our own. We need each other. And together, we're going to be stronger on the other side as we stay connected.